Hey, my happy shiny puppies. This is Melody Fletcher, your go-to for everything law of attraction and reality creation. And today I've got a treat for you. What follows is an excerpt from one of our live Q&A calls where people just like you, students just like you, were able to ask me questions and I answered them. And today you're going to get one of those. And as you see in the coming weeks, we're going to be rolling out more and more of these. And if you'd like the chance to be a part of one of these Q&A calls for free, then stay to the end of the video and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. All right, I'll see you on the other side. Bye.
So the big question is this: how do we, those of us who feel deep down that we're much more powerful than we've been led to believe, and that there is something to this law of attraction stuff, actually create our own realities? What's the process of simply stepping into the reality of our choice? What about those of us who need this process to make logical, intellectual sense? My name is Melody Fletcher. You've got questions about the technology of reality, and I've got the answers. Welcome to my channel where the law of attraction finally makes some freaking sense.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm new to...
Oh, we even got the video. Fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. I found you through a friend who told me about there's this coaching call that you had, and I downloaded it and it was great. And I listened to it it's been 3 years I've been listening to it, and I outlined it. And so I'm happy to have this chance to talk.
I have others. It's
I need to.
300 of them now. So.
I need to go through the library. My question is about discernment between being kind to oneself and comforting oneself and practicing self-compassion versus, pushing my edge toward the life that I really want. So to be more specific, I find that, I'm good at getting the real good visuals of a life that I desire and a lifestyle. And I can get really excited about it and jacked up about it. And then let's say that'll happen in the evening. And then in the morning, when it's time to wake up a little earlier to do a little more exercise or to prepare a better meal, the self-compassionate thing at that moment feels like staying in bed and cuddling with my sheets.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to dating, I'll let I would consider myself highly sensitive, and I will let a couple of bad dates or a couple of nights of waiting by the phone kind of disappoint me, and then I'm turned off for a really long time. So I'll have basically, I guess the question is how to there's a lot of volatility with whether or not I'm willing.
All or nothing kind of girl, sweetie.
Kind of, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't serve you. Because all or nothing doesn't really work. Yeah, because it's so polarizing. Either I get it all and all at once, or I don't get to have it, which is usually what happens. You get all excited, and then it doesn't go perfectly the way that you decided it had to go, and so it becomes nothing because it's not all, right?
Right.
So you get excited about an exercise routine. I'm going to go. I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm going to go jogging. And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, I really just want to sleep in. And I really want to love myself this way. But if I can't get up at 5 a.m. and go jogging, then I'm never going to get in shape. Right?
That's it. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Maybe what I'm excited about is the idea of getting in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I wasn't so excited about the jogging at 5 a.m. bit.
Yeah.
And I'm making an assumption that that's what has to happen in order to get me what I want. So you get into the feeling and to the idea of actually being in shape, how that would feel to walk down the street in shape, to be in shape, to have that body, right? And then see what you're inspired to do, but do not assume that you have to get there the hard way. That's a decision. So what if you could get in shape joyfully, easily, without ever having to go to the gym or wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go jogging?
That would be amazing.
There you go. You see, you lit right up. Yeah? We just take the hard part out of it. And so the same thing with dating. You have a couple of bad dates, or, a guy doesn't call when he said he would. It's an all or nothing. All men are shit, and I'm never going to have a relationship because I don't want to put up with this crap. Instead of, you know what? That's this guy, and I will not put up with a guy like this. So this guy is dead to me now. Right?
Yeah.
And you can catch that shit earlier and earlier. And this isn't the same thing as being picky. This is being discerning. Being picky is an artificial, I'm too afraid to go out with someone So I'm going to come up with all kinds of reasons for why they're not a good fit. That's being picky. They're arbitrary reasons that are meaningless. They're not real boundaries. Yeah? That's when you get shit like, oh, well, he's 6 foot and I'm 5'5", but I really need a guy who's at least 6'4". That's when you're like, what? Like, where did that come from? Oh, he has to make precisely $250,000 a year or more. Oh, that guy only makes $230,000 a year? No. You're using reasons to not go out with someone and trying to find reasons to not go out with someone. And that creates that pickiness. What I'm talking about is being discerning. So, for example, back in my clubbing days, I don't do clubbing anymore. I got sick of it. But back in my clubbing days, when I lived in Las Vegas, if a guy came up to me and in the course of the night, we're dancing, we're smooching, whatever, and he's like, I'm going to call you this week. And I would always tell them, like, don't say it if you're not going to do it. I don't mind if you don't do it if you don't say it, but don't say it and then not do it. And if I saw them in the club the next week and they didn't call me when they promised they would, that was it. You don't get to talk to me anymore. And my friends would be like, what? You have to give them a chance. And I said, the first thing this guy, when he's on his best behavior, when he's trying to court me, basically, if one could use such an old-fashioned word in the clubbing world, but he's basically trying to impress me, right? He's trying to get with me. And the first thing he does is lie to me. That's on his best behavior. What is he going to do in 6 weeks, right? No, thank you. You have no integrity. I'm not interested because I don't do that. If I say it, I'm going to do it. If I want to do it, I don't say it, right? And so I wasn't a bitch about it. I was just like, nope, we're done now. I wasn't demanding about it. I didn't cut into them. I was just like, I told you that if you said you were going to call me and you didn't call me, don't bother coming up to me next week. And you accepted that. And this is what happened. Did you think I was lying? I wasn't lying. Yeah. And so I have little pet peeves that are, that are deal breakers. Obviously my deal breakers are, you have to be this intelligent, you have to be this funny, you have to be this awake, you have to be this conscious, you have to be this kind, you have to be, all of these kinds of things. But then there's also like somebody who says one thing and does another. You're gone. You're gone. That is a character trait that I do not wish to deal with anymore. Yeah? And these are things that I figured out for myself, that who do I want to deal with as friends, in relationships, business partners, or romantic partners? Yeah. What are the things that are truly important to me? How am I willing to show up? And what can I then expect them to show? And I don't demonize the person themselves. And I say, you're an asshole because you didn't conform to I'm just like, this isn't a fit. You're fine the way you are, but you're not for me. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Doesn't mean that you don't get to find love. It's just not what I prefer. Yeah, I want somebody who has integrity and somebody who will be honest and somebody who is strong and knows himself and makes his own decisions and, says what he does and does what he says. Because that's how I show up too, you see. You get to want an equal, essentially. You don't have to settle for somebody less. And that's where, you can kind of bring an all or nothing mentality if you ever want to bring it in where you say, what are the things that absolutely must be there? And if they're not there, it doesn't matter if one or two of them are there. If they're not all there, what are my bare minimums? What are my deal breakers? So, if a guy is not smart, he can be the most beautiful, kind, gorgeous person ever. I'm probably not going to have a relationship with him. Yeah, because I love deep, intelligent conversation. I love talking to people who really think and dissect. That is such a joy for me that it is a deal breaker if somebody either can't do that or doesn't want to do that. Yeah. So that's a deal breaker for me because that's something that I really, really want. Right. And so that you can be all or nothing about. Okay. What is my checklist? And if it either check all the really important things or you don't, which could also be like, maybe you want kids and you meet a guy who doesn't want kids. That's a deal breaker because you want kids or the other way around. Yeah. So there's the important stuff. But when it comes to experiences, you have to understand that there's a progression and there's such a thing called a precursor. And a precursor is like a pre-manifestation that shows you what progression you're on, what's continuing to manifest. And so if you get a manifestation that isn't so great, that doesn't mean it's never going to be better or not better is available. It just means this is what I'm getting. This is my reflection right now based on what my energy's been doing. Do I like this? Do I not like this? Do I want to change it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's where you understand that your progress has to be incremental. It's not all or nothing. It's like sitting down to learn a language or to play a guitar, play a musical instrument. You are not going to sit down on day one and be a virtuoso. You're going to have to allow yourself to get better at it incrementally. And by engaging with it, you might then learn things about, oh, I really like this kind of music. Oh, I think this would be fun to play. Oh, I think this would be fun to practice. Right? And doing it incrementally, allowing yourself, you don't look at a child who's learning to walk and go, oh, you fell down. Oh, you fell down again. You know what? It doesn't matter. It's no good. You're not doing it. Let's just get you a wheelchair and we'll be done with this shit. You don't do that. Yeah. You sit there and go, yay, you made a step. Doesn't matter if you fell down 3 times. Yay, you took another step. Yay, you balanced a little more. Yay, you said, because you don't have the expectation that the child is just going to go from crawling to running perfectly. You understand that there's an incremental process in between where they strengthen their muscles, they learn how to use their body, they take a few steps, they stumble and fall, they take a few more, they get stronger and stronger, and before you know it, they're running all over the place. But it didn't happen in an instant. It happened, it doesn't have to be slow. Incremental doesn't have to be slow, but it is incremental. And so it will serve you well to watch for this, where you're looking for, is it all or nothing? And if it's not all, it's nothing. Because that's a great way to keep yourself from lots of awesome manifestations, because they didn't happen like that. Because you weren't willing to wait just a fucking minute for more to come in, for you to get ready, for you to get better at it. And that impatience hurts you, because, that then you become the kind of person who goes to the airport and the plane's delayed, and you're like, plane from New York to LA is delayed? How long is it delayed? We don't exactly know. I'm going to start walking. I can't wait. I can't sit around here and do nothing. I got to start walking. Well, if you just sat there and drank a glass of wine and read a book for a couple of hours, the plane would have taken off eventually, and you'd still get there a hell of a lot faster. Because guess what? You start walking, after 3 days, you're going to be like, fuck this. I don't want to work this hard for this. And then you go back home and you never get to LA. You see, it's a great way to keep yourself from getting the things you want, this all or nothing paradigm. So you want to look for that and allow yourself to sort of go, wait a minute, what if I could get there step by step? What if I could just get a step closer? What if it doesn't have to be everything? Does that make sense?
Man, it really does. It really, really does. Thank you.
Good. There's a lot of us all or nothingers out there. Don't worry. Yeah. We're all working on it. I've had to do some massive work on that, because I used to very much be all or nothing. I'm still very driven, but I'm much more able to accept things incrementally, which means I get a lot more. I open myself up to a lot more, because some things just can't be achieved instantly. Yeah. But it's also, it takes so much pressure off of me, because it takes so much energy to try to make this giant leap, instead of just like, oh, I'll just walk across the bridge. This is easier. Holy shit. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be so hard. Yeah?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was good. Great question. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And how do you say your name?
Tamaran.
Oh, so I said it right. Woohoo. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for playing, sweetheart. Thank you. Look at you. You made it all the way to the end of the video. Good for you. So if you'd like a chance to be part of these Q&A calls that we do for free, then all you have to do is get onto my email list. People on my email list get free gifts like this. In fact, I'll even give you another free gift for getting onto my email list, which changes periodically. So I'm not going to tell you what it is so that I can change it, but just check the description down below. Get onto my email list, get your valuable free gift, and you will be invited to take part of one of these Q&A calls yourself, where you can ask me whatever you want. Sound like a good deal? I think so. So sign up now, get invited to Q&A call, and get your own answers. Until then, enjoy the videos every week. Thank you for bringing your light to the world.